markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, I'm Matt Piper. About an hour since trading began, let's take a look at the numbers. The Dow right now is up 0.75%. The S&P, 0.3%, that is. The S&P is up fractionally at about 0.1%. The Nasdaq's the only thing that's down right now, down 55 points, or about 0.2%. President Trump's renewing his claims of momentum toward ending the conflict with Iran. Let's see what that has oil doing. Brent right now at $91 a barrel. That's down 3.3%. WTI is at $88 a barrel. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index down 0.2%. The 2-year yield is down nearly 2.5 basis points at 4.13. The 10-year yield is down 2 basis points as well. Thanks to a winter that saw low snowfall, Vail Resorts slid.
Hello, my name is DrPaulCottrell. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Please share the links. Ask your social media to follow me. You can follow me on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble, X, GETTR, Substack, TikTok, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon. If you like the work that I do, please help support by purchasing the products that I offer on my website, ebooks, supplements, even course material on immunology and pulmonology. Or you can donate. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. You can also be a paid member on Patreon or Substack. Please help support the work that I do. All these videos are for free. I'm here to try to inform you on how to improve your health, to slow down the aging process. This is something that I do every day. In addition, how the news can affect your financial situation and how you can benefit from it if you pay attention to me. So thank you for joining. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The markets are open. The S&P 500 is trading at 7,427. VIX is trading at 18. Euro is trading at 115. Japanese yen is trading at 160.19. So the dollar is stable. Bitcoin is trading below 62,000. Bitcoin is starting to sell off. We have some good news right now that WTI oil futures are trading at 87.78. Now, today is going to be key to see if it's going to stay in this trading range. It's been trading in a range of 88, around 87 to 88 to approximately 94 or $95 a barrel. So about 87 to $95 a barrel. If it breaks a key retracement line of 50% and starts trading below 87, then we are going to have a continual reduction in price for WTI, which will be good. So today is important to see if it breaks the 50% resistance level. If it does, then we're going to have to reassess what the trading range is. But current trading range is approximately 87 to 95, 88 to about 94, depending on how you want to calculate it. We're at the low bound of that trading range. If it breaks the resistance, if it breaks the support level, then we're going to have to reset the trading range, which is a good thing for markets. Now, for the ones that are starting to accumulate positions in shorting oil, this may be a time you'll start seeing that you're turning a profit or you're getting closer to getting in the money. Natural gas is trading at 3.165. It peaked earlier this morning at 3.2. I think the trading range for natural gas is 3.0 to about 3.3. So we're near the middle range. It's probably going to go up a little bit before it goes down. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 3.2 again and then comes back down. So that's the markets right now. I still have a target for the S&P 500 at 7,800. Right now, it's trading at 7,430. If you want more detail of why I think what I do in terms of resistance levels and support levels. Please watch my market updates that I normally publish on the weekend. Take a look at those charts that I create. I give details. Thank you for joining. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the work that I do and help support your health and wellness. These are supplements that I take every day to slow down the aging process. This is something that I've been doing for a very long time. I've been focused on anti-aging and slowing down the aging process all the way when I was 16 years old. Why? Because heart disease ran in the family. I had a lot of family members that passed away from heart disease. So I've been very vigilant in this and very cognizant of what can happen if you don't take care of your health. So please pay attention to me. I know a thing or two about this subject matter. So with that, you want to start with your anti-aging protocol by changing your lifestyle. Drinking filtered water, staying away from processed foods, reduce your sugar intake, making sure you get plenty of sleep. Mindfulness or spirituality will help. Learning new things, reading and writing and talking to people in the real world. Reduce your social media exposure, especially on social media that's very negative. And take the proper supplementation, proper diet and exercise. You want to be a little bit more on the resistance training than the cardio. Too many people focus on cardio. You want to be about 60-40 split. You want to be about 60% resistance training, weight training, and 40% cardio. You also want to do stretching and balancing exercises to activate that cerebellum, to keep your neurons activated. Another thing that you want to focus on is start with the base. If you don't know, start with the foundation of slowing down the aging process and getting healthy, and that is a good gut biome. Now, I have two great probiotics on my store, the powdered version, which is what I take, and the VeggieCap version, which is very easy to take. Now, either one will work. Both are very high quality, but take them every day. And what this will do is help to improve your gut biome, improve your metabolism, reduce inflammation, boost up your immune system at the gut level, improve the mucosal layer of the gut, increase your IgA, which is a type of antibody within your gut for proper health. What will happen with a good gut biome? Allergies will diminish. A lot of food allergies are coming from a leaky gut, so it'll reduce leaky gut syndrome if you have a good gut biome. Your overall metabolism will improve. You'll be able to absorb your nutrients better. Your skin will improve. You'll also be able to sleep better. You'll get into those 3 to 5 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep to detoxify your central nervous system and consolidate memory and be well rested. A lot of people don't realize that if you're chronically sleep deprived and you're not getting into deep sleep, you are literally reducing the connections of your neurons and slowly increasing the probability of dementia just by not getting enough sleep. So having a good gut biome will help with better cognition, getting rid of that brain fog, and also allowing you to get into proper sleep. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the powdered probiotic or the VeggieCap version. Either one will work for you. And also get the vitamin D3. This is dual purpose. Vitamin D3 helps to absorb calcium, so it'll help to improve your bone density, which is super important. You want good bone density as you go into your geriatric years, super important. And vitamin D3 will help with gene expression. It's a gene expression cofactor. If you are deprived of vitamin D3, you're not expressing the genes properly in your cells. And you're going to be aging slow. You're going to be aging faster. Your cells aren't going to be working and your tissues aren't going to be working properly. So by taking vitamin D3 is actually going to allow for your tissues to process and perform at its optimal level. Now, vitamin D3 also helps with cardiovascular health. You'll get better blood flow, and with better blood flow, you'll get better brain function because you're perfusing the brain more with blood and allowing for your neurons to be nourished, but also your other organ systems. This is part of the reason why when you have cardiovascular disease, or other organ systems start to fail. Kidneys, your liver, brain, because it's not perfused properly. And on top of increasing the chances of strokes. So it's really important to take vitamin D3. And vitamin D3 also works during the cold season because it helps to get rid of cells that have been infected. It helps to get the cell to go into apoptosis. So it's a dual purpose vitamin that's super important. So please go to my store, get the vitamin D3, get the probiotics, use discount 5. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Now, we're gonna go over some of the news. I want to start with the Penn Station stabbing. All right. There was some chaos that took place in New York where there was a stabbing. Let's listen in to the latest from Fox News on this subject.
A career felon recently freed from a New Jersey jail, now under arrest after hurting at least 5 people in that stabbing spree at Penn Station. And this morning, growing outrage as we learned the homeless suspect, who has a long history of mental illness, was reportedly arrested back in 2022 for slashing a man in the neck, and he only got 2 years probation. Our next guest was one of those victims on Sunday, slashed in the face at Penn Station, and is now calling out Democrats like Mayor Mamdani over their soft on crime policies. Henry Obadiah joins me now. Henry, thank you so much for coming in. First, show the audience. Will you show them your right side of your face where you were slashed?
Yeah.
And then the lip too. You have stitches in your lip?
3 stitches in my lip.
So tell me what happened on Sunday. You're coming back from the Jersey Shore.
So I'm coming back from the Jersey Shore, and I'm heading toward the exit to 7th Avenue. And I'm walking, toward the escalator, and I see these 2 guys kind of scuffling a little bit. I didn't think anything of it, walking toward the escalator, and I locked eyes with this crazy man, and he just looked at me, and you see in his eyes, he had this rage in his eyes, and he went, whack, cracked me right in the mouth. And my first reaction was...
This is a major problem in New York. This is a major problem. I see stuff like this on the train all the time. Not every day, but at least once a month. And there's a typical ethnicity associated with this. Most of them are black males. They look homeless, on drugs.
After this guy, I'm gonna kill him. But then this guy behind me goes, he's got a knife, he's got a knife. So then I just backed off, went up the escalator. The girl up there outside, she goes, he cut you. And I'm like, oh my God. So then we were waiting, there was a lot of chaos, people trying to flag down the police. And I got a cop, he said to me, I told him that, yeah, I got attacked and I could identify the assailant. So he goes, come with me. We went downstairs into the Jersey Transit area, and it was a crazy scene. It was blood all over the place. It was clothes strewn all over. And we followed this trail of blood, and we saw this kid was bleeding from the head. And he had like a towel on his head. They were attending to him. And then, they came over to me. Some of the cops were asking me questions. Then a couple minutes later, another guy got stabbed. Cops were running in all directions. It was crazy.
So did you have an interaction with the other people that were stabbed? How badly were they stabbed?
Just one guy I saw. He was the guy that was lying on the ground. He was
the kid.
Yeah, he was younger looking guy, and he was holding his head, and blood was coming out. It was like untenable.
So, I mean, I have friends writing me right after we were talking about this on air yesterday saying, I'm coming in on that same transit system. I don't want to go to Penn Station. But we don't have a choice. A lot of people live in New Jersey, a lot of people live on Long Island. We come in and go to these train stations, and that's how people get to work. This guy had been arrested 7 times going back to 2008. He, 4 years ago, convicted of a similar attack, and he only got probation. He stabbed a guy in the neck in New Jersey. This guy's homeless. He's 51 years old. Why is this happening? Who do you blame?
I got to blame the administration, starting with Madami and Bragg.
Yep.
I just saw an interview with Bragg, and he said that you know, this guy doesn't have an arrest record in New York. So that's.
I met Bragg at a speaking engagement at the Harvard Club about a little bit more than a year ago. I'm telling you, there is a concerted effort within the justice system to let these people off and just mingle in society. And some of it's because jails are overcrowded. Another aspect of it is that they're trying to decriminalize crime. They think it's justifiable or acceptable, or individuals need to be given like multiple chances, especially in crimes like this, where individuals could have died. So there seems to be a concerted effort within the justice system to almost decriminalize actions by minorities.
He's out on the street. But who cares? If he stabs someone in New Jersey, why isn't this guy under arrest?
6 of them.
I don't understand.
6 of those arrests over the last few years have been in New Jersey, and this last one in New York. So this guy does not belong on the streets, but this is what we're dealing with in New York. People are scared to even take a train, take a subway.
It's a big
I will
problem.
say that the Amtrak police were the ones who went and got him and arrested him when I saw that video. Thank you so much. What do you hope happens?
I hope that there's some kind of change. There's got to be more law and order in the city.
Yep.
I don't know why they keep on voting for these Democrats that, you know, are so against law and order and they're anti-American. It's horrible.
Well, Henry, I'm glad you're alive. If that had been a little deeper, it could be a lot different.
Yes, I know. I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
And I was coming into the city late last Friday, very late, so it was early in the morning on Saturday. And when I arrived into the Penn Station area because of Amtrak, and walking outside and walking to the other train stations to take, garbage all over the place, people roaming. This is like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It's a dangerous place. New York, yeah, in a distance, it looks shiny. You know, there's big buildings and they glimmer in the sun, but you're actually on the streets in the middle of the day, or especially at night. It's, in many parts, it's very dangerous, especially in the transit system. Okay, now there was an Apache helicopter that went down off of Omar Coast. Trump said that the pilots were okay. CNN just posted a clip. Let's listen in to the updates of the Apache helicopter going down.
Just in, new reports that the U.S. military says it is investigating whether Iran is responsible for a U.S. Apache helicopter that went down near the Strait of Hormuz. This brand new reporting from Barack Reed of Axios also says that there was a dramatic hours-long search before the crew was found and rescued from the water. Also, Israel's military today launched new attacks in southern Lebanon. Both Iran and President Trump have warned Israel against continuing the offensive there. Let's get right to CNN's Elena Treen at the White House for the latest on all of this. Good morning, Elena.
Good morning, Johnny. I want to start with what we know about this Apache helicopter. There was a statement out from CENTCOM this morning saying that at 7:33 p.m. yesterday on June 8th, 2 crew members from that U.S. Army, it was an AH-64 Apache, were rescued by American forces after their helicopter went down near the coast of Oman. CENTCOM says that they were patrolling regional waters and that the soldiers were safely rescued within, they said, approximately 2 hours and are now in stable condition. We heard the president, who was taking questions from reporters about this early this morning, said that none of them were injured and that they are doing fine. I think this line from the CENTCOM statement is important. They say that the cause of the incident is under investigation. We're still learning, of course, what exactly happened here. But to give you a sense, I mean, one, the loss of this aircraft marks the first loss of an Apache since this war began. And I note that these helicopters have been previously used to attack Iranian small boats in the Strait of Hormuz. Apaches, primarily used for precision strikes, close air support, and air reconnaissance. So we're still learning to get more about what exactly happened and how this helicopter was down.
President Trump confirming the pilots on board that U.S. Army Apache helicopter were not injured following reports that the chopper went down near the Strait of Hormuz. Take a listen.
Or that an Army helicopter went down in the strait. Can you give us an update on that? Are the soldiers okay?
The pilots are fine, yeah. Nobody injured.
Barak Ravid from Axios reports that officials are investigating whether Iran is responsible for shooting it down. With us now is CNN national security analyst, former deputy director of national intelligence, Beth Sander. This is what the Apache looks like. Hours-long rescue from the water. The 2 crew members plucked out. That's according to Barak Ravid. Does it feel like the type of thing, or what kind of risk should I say? Because we don't know whether the Iranians shot it down, but what kind of risks are these missions as they continue, even in this, in inverted commas and quotes, ceasefire period?
Well, absolutely. Every kind of combat area has risks, John, and it is just a matter of time before things happen, whether it's a shoot down or just something happens, right? I mean, you just have a lot of people in the air, in the water, and it's just kind of a numbers game. One of the interesting things I found from this are the reports that they were rescued by an unmanned underwater vehicle. And if true, this is really interesting, and it just shows how war is changing. This is now happening routinely in Ukraine, where these unmanned vehicles are wheeling people out or, dropping in supplies or whatever. The world is changing dramatically, and it makes people more safe. But I think that this entire situation, John, right now it's just very, very unstable. And the risk of flare-ups and more downings is just high.
But we got word overnight that a U.S. Apache helicopter went down somewhere in the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman. We don't know the exact location, nor do we know the cause of what brought this helicopter down. We do know the 2 people inside, the pilots and the passengers. Everyone's doing okay. This is what the Apache looks like. When you hear that, what are the range of possibilities for what might have happened?
It could be mechanical, of course. Secondly, could be enemy action. The Iranians could have gotten in some kind of a drone in close to it. Thirdly, it could be pilot error. Those are the 3 key ones that you think about. I think just stepping back, John, we ought to kind of reflect on the fact that we now have 50,000, 60,000 U.S. servicemen and women forward deployed for months and months. And, we were just talking about draining the strategic petroleum reserve. We are draining military readiness by keeping all these people on station for this length of time. Now, this is the Department of Defense, a highly capable organization, but not inexhaustible. So it's a good wake up when something like this happens, how perilous this is for our troops, and how this could, without question, become longer and longer if we don't get to a deal.
Well, it already has become longer and longer, and I think that's such an important point that you're making here, because this is the risk of an extended deployment, maybe indefinite deployment, one or the other. And one thing I want to point out is the president says overnight that this whole thing could come to an end in the next 2 or 3 days. There could be a permanent deal in the next 2 to 3 days. He has said some version of that. CNN has counted, I'm going to write this, 37 times in the last 78 days. So 37 times over the last 78 days, it's either been a few days away, a week away, or just around the corner. You get the sense that this could possibly just linger. And what happens if it does?
And this is the problem. This is the problem that I have with Trump. Trump keeps on saying that, everything is copacetic. We're just about ready to have a peace agreement. But it's not a peace agreement. It's not a ceasefire. It's a memorandum of understanding, which means nothing in contract parlance. Nothing. It means nothing. So he's just stringing the American people along. Now, it is true that oil is starting to go down. It's trading at 87.96 for WTI. But the point here is that I don't think we're anywhere near having a permanent ceasefire in that region. One, because Israel is going to continue to hit Hezbollah in Lebanon. And Iran, who's running the show? I think it's fractured. So if it's fractured, you're going to have certain factions within the IRGC wanting to continue on with the war effort, and you'll have others that are wanting to allow for peace. So will we really have a peaceful region? You know what it looks like? Continuous conflict, and ships going in and out of the strait are going to have to be paying a toll now. So we're worse off. We're worse off. Trump should have used ground troops and have been more forceful to have a ground invasion, but he was scared. And it's too late now. He ate the clock, and it's too late. Now what he does is he puts on his used car salesman hat, and he basically is telling the American public that everything is fine. He's putting lipstick on the pig. That's what he's doing. And in my mind, Trump has failed.
Then we are right back to potentially years of keeping forces forward deployed at scale.
Exactly.
And I think the country doesn't want that at any level because of the 20 years of the forever wars that my generation and more importantly, the younger generation, the millennials particularly, carried immense burdens on the front lines of. So I think President Trump feels the pressure to get to the table. And that, John, brings us to Iran.
I don't know what age this guy is. I don't know. He looks older, but maybe he's Gen X. But most of the war in the Middle East, it wasn't the millennials. It was Gen X that had that burden, not millennials. Because if there were millennials, we got out of Afghanistan in, I think it was 2022, all right? The millennials were just getting into the service when they were 18. Millennial, by definition, is born after January 1st of January 1st, 2000. That's a millennial. Well, that would mean that if they enlisted at 18, that you're talking about 2018. So 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, all right? But most of the war in the Middle East was done by Gen X, and that was post 9/11. So what the fuck is this guy talking about? The burden was on the millennials? No, it wasn't. The burden was on Gen X.
Israel feel that same level of pressure. And I think at the moment, the Iranians are leaning backwards.
That's my question. I mean, how can the Iranians handle sort of an indefinite status quo?
They also feel a clock ticking. There are really two clocks running here. One over President Trump, who's the central decision maker, but the second clock is running over the Iranians because of the damage to their economy. It's a tale of two blockades. The one we focus on is the blockade of the Strait. The entire Iranian coastline, 1,000 miles, is similarly blockaded at the moment, inflicting significant damage over time on the Iranians. Final thought, John, I'll tell you what I'm also watching that we don't talk about enough is not the Strait of Hormuz, it's the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. The Houthis are still in business down there on the bottom left-hand corner of the Arabian Peninsula, the Western Front, if you will, exactly where you focused it. They launched a couple of missiles over the last few days just to remind us they could shut down another very important waterway. So President Trump has a complex game of chess he's playing here.
Admiral James Survey, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much.
But I'm wondering if you could just listen to President Trump, what he said
The
on
reason,
Monday.
and the reason why I keep on saying that Trump thought he could negotiate himself out of this and not use more forceful kinetic energy led to this situation. He thought he was going to be able to negotiate it because he's such a great negotiator. But he failed. He failed. Ground troops should have happened to control the strait. There would have been casualties, but it had to be done. And the nuclear material has to be in our possession. Either give it to us or we forcefully take it, period. Now, if the military can't do it, then the military should not be getting all the money that we're giving them through our taxes. The generals should not get all these medals. You either can do the job or you can't. Now, we keep on hearing that we can do the job. Fine, do it. Now, what can we learn from the Civil War on this? Early on in the Civil War, the generals on the Union side that were very good at organization and building up a military and training the military were afraid to fight the Confederates. And Lincoln had major problems with these generals. Doesn't it sound similar here? It seems similar. They love building up military equipment, capability, recruitment, building up the armed forces. But when it comes to actually winning, taking risk, a lot of these generals are afraid. And so the forever war, part of it's because of the politicians, part of it's because of the money machine of the industrial complex, but part of it's generals that can't win wars.
New York City, he was asked about possible sticking points in these negotiations with Iran.
I don't think there are any.
This game, you're not ready for it.
I don't think there are any sticking points. We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal.
Really? Where is it?
No sticking points, a positive outlook, but then listen to a portion of CNN's Fred Pleiten's interview with the top.
See, what it is that Trump
Trump
is talking just like he has a real estate deal that's floundering because people aren't willing to invest in it. And the construction has to stop because he can't get the funding. So he has to put lipstick on the pig and convince people to buy into the real estate investment. That's exactly what a real estate investor that has problems in New York would say. There is the issue with Trump. Not being honest with the American public. The bottom line is this: the Iranians aren't going to do a deal. And if they say they will, it's going to be a false deal. They're kicking the can down the road to be able to reconstitute. The only way this will end positively for the United States and the world at large is for the IRGC to be completely destroyed. That means total war.
And here's what that official said.
What are the biggest sticking points now in the negotiations?
We do not see a serious will to reach a framework that could actually be implemented. And I think with regard to Iran's blocked assets, this is in fact a very clear and prominent example of that. As for uranium, enriched materials, enrichment itself, and nuclear issues, we are not currently negotiating on those matters.
Does it sound
this team operating in Iran only with the
right?
permission of government?
So does it really sound like that there's going to be a peace agreement? No. Now maybe that's not the right guy to talk to. Trump's talking to a different guy, but this adds to the confusion. Who's running the show over in Iran? Now you have the America First pacifists out there that just want to stop everything and just let nuclear capability rise from the ashes in Iran, which would lead to nuclear proliferation in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, in Qatar, and in Turkey. Do you really want that? That's what America First pacifism would allow. The only way that this is going to end for the United States positively in the long run is total war in Iran. Not, I'm Trump and I'm going to negotiate a deal. And that deal is going to make everything worse off than it was before before we started knocking the shit out of Iran.
Of its reports. Putting all this together, Nathois, I'm wondering if I can get your take on this. What is your assessment of what is holding up a deal from being finalized? I mean, yet again, two very different narratives that we're hearing.
Well, I think the Iranian narrative has been very consistent. So this is, we know there is a clarity on what Iran wants. Iran wants that the United States releases its frozen assets, which are about $21, $24 billion. At least they want $15 billion released, which are in Qatar. Secondly, Iran wants a lasting end to the war as opposed to a limited ceasefire. They want international guarantees, basically either from China or Russia or a Security Council resolution. And they also some management, a form of management of the Strait of Hormuz, whether you're talking about fees or tolls. And they want
so the Iranians want their money back. They want to be able to charge tolls, which is antithetical to the freedom of navigation, which is international law. And they still want the nuclear material. So what the hell did we do this for? This is classic Trump. He's going in for the right reasons, but the execution is terrible. And then he has to put the lipstick on the pig, telling the American public that everything's fine, even though it's worse. And he wasted 60 days that were critical to win. I mean, think about this. The Iranians want to be able to continue to fund their terrorism, add more pressure in the Strait of Hormuz by fluctuating fees, which is antithetical to the freedom of navigation. And when that happens, what prevents China to do the same thing with the 9-dash line or the 10-dash line? This opens up a whole can of worms because Trump couldn't get the job done.
An end to the war, not just between the United States and Israel on the one hand and Iran, but also Lebanon. They want an end to the Israel's war in Lebanon. So all in all, in fact, there has really been no major progress in the past few weeks. Because
Trump, the Pentagon, the people in Congress, the America First pacifists, they need to wake up. There is only one way this ends. and that is complete annihilation of your enemy. This doesn't end unless we win and they have unconditional surrender. But Trump's not willing to do it. Congress is not willing to do it. American pacifists don't want to do it. We have the hegemonic power and the greatest country ever in human history because we are expansionists.
Your correspondence interview with the Iranian official, Iran does not trust President Trump. And that's why they want operational, they want to verify. And that's why, despite President Trump's repeated positive statements, this tells you a great deal more about President Trump. He is desperate to find an off-ramp.
Yep.
He wants out.
Yep.
He is in a terrible strategic bind, especially given the inflation, the gas prices in the United States, and the pain in the world economy.
Yep. He's 100% right on that. And Trump failed. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the Boomer Boost. This has 68 nutrients to help to slow down the aging process. It focuses on helping brain function, cardiovascular health, musculature, revs up your metabolism. You have a steady burn of energy. And by taking this regularly, you're going to be able to boost up your immune system, your endocrine system. So please go to my store and get the Boomer Boost. This also helps to control A1C levels when you're building up muscle. Now I have two types of barley. You can get the heirloom barley or the gladiator barley. Heirloom barley will help to detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, and soak up free radicals. That will help with your immune system and your endocrine system, help with joint health. By bringing down inflammation and soaking up free radicals, you're helping with brain function and cardiovascular health too. Super important. So get the heirloom barley. Now, gladiator barley is very similar to the heirloom barley, but it has one added benefit, and that is they'll help to build muscle. Do some resistance training. Take the gladiator barley. Now, you can take the barley separately, or you can stack it. You can stack the Boomer Boost with the gladiator barley or the Boomer Boost with the heirloom barley. And that will also help to control the A1C levels. So I highly recommend stacking it. Now, if you are an athlete or you want to build more musculature and reduce atrophy, get Myotrol. Now, if you're 40 years of age or older, you're starting to atrophy. Why? Because you have genes that are methylating that prevent you from building the proteins to help with building muscle. All right? Myotrol helps with the gene expression to build muscle. It has polyphenols, flavonoids, and lignans to do that. It also helps the mitochondria health. So you have the energy, the ATP, to maintain and build muscle. So this is very important to take. Now you can stack it for added benefit by taking the gladiator barley. So if you're 40 years of age or older, take the gladiator barley, do some resistance training, take the Myotrol, it'll help to build muscle. Now, if you're an athlete and you want to build strength for your sport, so you do your routine, your daily routine for building strength for your sport, take the gladiator barley and the Myotrol together, and you'll get faster gains and you'll be able to recover quicker because the gladiator barley also brings down inflammation. So please go to my store, get the Myotrol, the barley, and the Boomer Boost. And like I said, stack them. And by stacking them, you're going to get the synergistic benefits. Please go to my store, use discount 5, get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. All right, tariffs. Trade shakeup. White House drops sweeping tariff plan. Now, wait a minute here. I stated yesterday that how Trump is failing. Trump is failing in Iran. Trump is failing with the cost of goods and services in the United States. He failed with the tariffs. Now, at the beginning of the whole process a year ago, more than a year ago, I was for the tariffs because it was bringing back manufacturing. But is manufacturing really coming back? No, a lot of promises. What about all the data centers that are being built? Most of them are empty. They don't have racks. They don't have chips in them. And some of them are still in kind of like a building phase or trying to get approved by city council and all this stuff. So a lot of this construction is on paper and not in reality. And then he says that we have $17 trillion or $18 trillion coming into the United States in FDI, foreign direct investment. Really? I don't think so. It's on paper. It's a promissory note. It's a memorandum of understanding. If you go back to the agreements that were signed, by Trump and the Islamic nations, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, how much of that stated a memorandum of understanding versus a contract? And you'll be shocked. This is the point I'm making with Trump. It's all bluster. It's all BS. Not all of it, but there's a lot of hyperbole with Trump. Now with the tariffs. So I was for the tariffs, hoping that manufacturing comes back. But then it was bounced by the Supreme Court saying you can't do that. You can do it this way. Okay. Well, why didn't his lawyers do it the right way at the very beginning instead of causing this havoc? Now companies are asking for a reimbursement, even though they passed on higher costs to their consumers, to their customers. Does the consumers get reimbursed? Oh, we got an extra amount for our taxes in 2028. Our refunds were a little bit larger. But it was eaten up because of energy costs. So is the American people better off? No. The companies they charged have higher prices for their goods and services now, and they charge higher prices to the consumer that paid it. And those companies are getting a reimbursement. So the companies increase their profit through government subsidies. That's what happened. That's what happened. Now, either Trump is stupid, which is possible, or he did it on purpose. Who knows? So now we have another fiasco with tariffs that cause more instability in the economy. People are on edge. The cost of goods are worrisome. You have the problem with oil. You have the problem with the war in the Middle East. You have now tariffs again. See, Trump, please focus and solve a problem to completion. To completion. So let's play Fox Business. It was posted an hour ago about trade shakeup. White House drops sweeping tariff plan. What's going on here?
Well, welcome back to Tuesday morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and I hope you're having a great morning. It is Tuesday, June 9th. It is 7:01 on the East Coast. The White House unleashing new tariff proposals on 60 new countries under Section 301 of the 1974 Trade Act. Those countries, including the European Union, could see imposed duties of between 10 and 12.5% over forced labor laws, arguing American workers are competing on an uneven playing field. Joining me now is the United States Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer. Jamieson, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
So this causes more instability in the markets and causes more inflation. And on top of this, you have Warsh, the new Federal Reserve Chair, pushing for the target rate to be 3%, not 2%. In other words, he thinks that it's okay to erode the middle class purchasing power by 1% more per year. So people that are invested in the stock market will get richer. Because what happens is that when inflation goes up, especially in the United States because we're the risk-free rate, when inflation goes up, the middle class purchasing power goes down. But actually, that hot money, the printing from the Federal Reserve, and the overissuing of debt, and this creation of an erosion of this money supply, that hot money goes into the stock market. So the stock rises more than 1%. So people that are having assets in the stock market will maybe get 3 or 4% gain. Well, individuals that aren't in the stock market are not as exposed to the stock market and are heavily dependent on their wages will have a 1% erosion of purchasing power. That's what Trump's doing. On top of tariffs, on top of oil prices being elevated for way too long. He said that he was going to be able to unravel this fiasco in Iran within 3 weeks to 6 weeks. Well, it's more than 100 days. And it's still a problem. Once again, Trump failed.
Very good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about that. I mean, the president is hoping that this round of tariffs will be more legally binding, obviously, following the Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year. What is most important for us to understand these new tariff actions put into place?
Well, first of all, remember, the president's policy has never really changed. Since day one, he's been combating unfair trading practices overseas, which we believe are leading to this massive trade deficit that ballooned to $1.2 trillion.
We have a huge problem in the United States because for the last 30 years, we've been shipping jobs out. We need to bring those jobs back because innovation happens by doing things. Now, globalization helped a little bit. But it's time for localization. This is the reason why tariffs are a good tool to try to bring that back, bring that manufacturing back, bring back more companies, allow for our youth coming out of high school, coming out of college to be employed and learning a skill, learning a career, instead of globalization. I don't care about jobs in India. I don't care about jobs in China. I care about jobs in the United States. And there's been a lot of unfair trade practices on both sides, in the United States and in Europe and in China. We don't have free trade. We have barriers, right? But the point here is that we have to start thinking local. Localization. Not only to employ more people that are citizens and to allow for innovation to take hold and to have that economic clustering and have a better tax revenue base, but it allows us to have the military prowess that we need. We're starting to see this as a major problem in the Middle East with the war with Iran. We can't make enough Tomahawk missiles. We can only make just under 100 a year. You can blow through 100 in one night in Tomahawk missiles when you're doing offensive operations. One night takes 1 year to make. That's a problem.
So we've been trying to get at these, and we have.
With YouTube Music Premium, listen ad-free, offline, and in the background. Plus, download podcasts for on.
So we've been trying to get at these, and we have been very successfully over the past year. One of these issues, which you just highlighted, is the tolerance of forced labor in supply chains. For over 100 years, the United States of America has had laws on the books saying that we will not import goods that have been made in whole or in part with forced labor. No other country effectively enforces these types of laws. a handful of countries have these laws but don't actually implement them. The European Union, for example, they passed a law, but it doesn't take effect until 2027. So we have all these countries in the world that allow goods made forced labor into their countries. America doesn't do that. Our companies have to comply. We seize containers at the border. There's a cost to doing the right thing, and other countries aren't bearing it. So this is just one step. We also have actions about excess capacity, countries that are subsidizing factory build out that they don't need, that kind of thing that undermine our workers. So these are the types of unfair trading practices that the president is trying to take care of, and he's trying to remedy it by imposing tariffs.
Do you believe these tariffs are going to equal the same amount of revenue that you had from those tariffs that were struck down?
Why didn't he do this path for tariffs back in April of last year? Why did we have to go through the circle jerk? Doesn't he have fucking lawyers that know what the law is? Bullshit. It's bullshit. And what this is going to do is cause more havoc in the market, more instability with individuals, with kitchen table concerns. You might have retaliation by the counterparty, and this thing is going to be in the news cycle, and it's going to cause havoc in the stock market. On top of AI, on top of increased cost for energy, on top of potentially major problems with food crop yield because of El Nino and the lack of fertilizer. See, Trump, he's attacking problems that need to be addressed. But the way he does it is inefficient.
By the Supreme Court.
Listen, tariff revenue is incidental to what we're doing. We're imposing tariffs to reshore supply chains to remedy unfair trading practices. My sense is that if these tariffs go through on forced labor, and if there are other tariffs that are proposed, is it will probably be quite similar in terms of revenue. Again, that's not the primary mover. It's the movers we are trying to identify and eliminate trade practices, reshore jobs, and get the debt.
That's really an important point. So thank you for making it. The priority is the priority, and regardless of what the revenue is. Now,
and the reality of the situation is he lost a year and a half. He could have done this path a year and a half ago. Just like he didn't solve the problem in Iran, and it's going to only make it worse later down the road. It's the same problem. Poor execution. Right problem to address, but poor execution.
And I spoke with your colleague, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, on this last week about this deal that is still pending. And here's what he told me. Watch.
Right after the Supreme Court decision, was the president planning on any changes in terms of the tariffs?
So what's going to expire is what's called the Section 122. It's a kind of an emergency 5-month authority that we put on. It's a 10% global tariff. And along with that, we have existing 301s and 232s. So what's happening now is Ambassador Jameson Greer, U.S. Trade Representative, is doing studies Section 301, and if those studies are successful, those 301s will get recalibrated to the exact level of the trade deals we had with the countries.
So the issue on Europe is he said that there was a 15% tariff, and you're waiting on Europe to agree to that. Where does that stand, Jameson?
So we made a deal with Europe last summer. That deal is very precise, and the expectation is that the United States is allowed to have a 15% tariff on the European Union, and the European Union in return is going to reduce their tariffs on industrial goods to zero, give American farmers some duty-free quotas for key agricultural products, and importantly, change a bunch of burdensome EU regulations that in some cases have targeted U.S. companies or really just made trade very difficult. And the European Union, they are passing a bill to deal with the tariff element of this, and that's proceeding through the parliament. However, with respect to some of the non-tariff barriers or burdensome regulations. We haven't seen a lot of flexibility on that yet, even though they've promised it. So I just saw my counterpart last week when I was in Europe to talk to him about this. I'm in constant contact with our ambassador in Brussels, and we're pushing really hard for the European Union to change these laws that not only target American companies, but are bad for European business too.
And that includes the digital services tax and other fees that the Europeans put on American companies.
That's exactly right. And they have things like something called the EU deforestation regulation, which they want to use to target deforestation that's going on. And listen, we agree, we don't want illegal deforestation, but the United States should not be the target of that. We have very good forest practices. We have clean manufacturing, all of these things. We should not be the target of these regulations that the EU is using to slow down business.
Yeah. The last time we spoke, Jameson, we talked about your work on Canada and Mexico as well. You said you were going to get deeper into the Canadian trade issues as well. Where do those deals stand? They're bilateral, right? You've got U.S.-Mexico and U.S.-Canada as opposed to USMCA.
Right. You have the USMCA underlying the relationship right now. We've seen a lot of flaws in that. We've seen our deficit go up with both countries over the years that USMCA has been in place. So we're trying to fix the flaws in that program. We're dealing with Mexico on a bilateral basis, Canada on a bilateral basis. I've had a team conducting formal negotiating rounds with Mexico. We were down in Mexico a couple of weeks ago. They're coming here next week. We're talking about how to improve the rules to make sure that if there's a good that's going back and forth across the border between the United States and Mexico and getting some special preferential treatment, that it's actually made in the United States and or Mexico, and it's not just made with a bunch of stuff from China or Vietnam. So we're trying to change those rules, we call them rules of origin, to make sure that people aren't using Mexico as a third country hub. We would expect the same for Canada when we are able to get to some kind of an arrangement with them. Right now they have a different approach to the United States. They have some retaliatory.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys, you just built an app.
Impossible.
You're a kid. Code. Approach to the United States, they have some retaliatory tariffs still in effect, and that makes it a problem for us to negotiate.
Well, all of this is so important with regard to China, because you look at Mexico and you think, well, how did these products come in from China? And then you realize, okay, well, they're dumping products in other countries and getting them in another way. China is, and all of these cheap products undermining U.S. companies. You were just in China for the meeting with Xi Jinping. What was your takeaway there? Do you feel that you can actually bend the curve here and affect change with regard to communist China dumping its products in America at cheap prices?
Well, the first thing to keep in mind is if you look at what's happened over the past year and a half, the United States of America has reduced its trade deficit in goods with China by over 30%, 30. So that was, in absolute terms, that was $130 billion last year. That's a huge change in only 1 year. We initiated with China what I call the U.S.-China Board of Trade.
Right.
And it's, I call it a positive mechanism where instead of fighting with China all the time, we each look at about $30 billion worth of goods trade on each side, and we say, listen, is there something we can trade with each other, non-sensitive consumer goods, or can we send them medical devices, energy products, agricultural products? What can we get from them? What can we send to that?
Again, Trump should have went down this road a year and a half ago. What's going to happen is Trump's going to lose momentum because he's going to lose the House, maybe even the Senate, in the midterm elections. And when the Democratic Party gets into the White House, potentially after Trump, right after Trump, they're going to unwind all this stuff. So what real benefit did we get?
Balanced way in non-sensitive goods and really manage the trade, because our two economies are so different, our politics are so different. We have to manage the trade, we have to get that deficit lower, we have to get the trade more balanced, and we're already well along the path to doing that.
But not everything is the same, right? I mean, T-shirts from China is one thing, but semiconductor chips from Taiwan is another thing. So are there industries that you would deem too critical to even get a pass in terms of tariffs? We're talking about pharmaceuticals and semiconductor, all the areas that President Trump has talked about that we need to wean ourselves off the supply chain of China.
You're exactly right. So we're already doing this. We have what we call Section 232 tariffs. These are national security tariffs. We have them in the auto parts supply chain. We have it in pharmaceuticals. We have it in semiconductors. We have it in steel, aluminum, copper, timber, all of these areas that are critical supply chains. These apply to China as a general matter. There are some areas in there where the coverage is more limited, but these are things that we want to be making here in the United States, or if we're importing them, we want to be importing them from countries that are more trusted trading partners.
What is your timeline in terms of critical minerals? When could you expect, when should we expect that we would actually be doing this, producing and refining these critical minerals that are so critical for the military and our technology needs, et cetera? When could we actually expect that would be done at home?
Every government agency with any equity in the critical mineral space is acting. That everyone's being a real policy entrepreneur right now. We have the Exim Bank that has started, and the Development Finance Corporation. They have started a vault.
Project Vault.
Exactly, where they're buying up any available critical minerals. We have the Departments of Commerce, War, and Energy putting money into new mines in America, new processing facilities, and new downstream manufacturing to make projects that are on the cusp of being economically viable, making them economically viable. So we actually have magnets rolling off the line in South Carolina. We have a new discovery of heavy rare earths in Utah. So we're moving along quickly. Now, there are 60 critical minerals, and so some of them are on different timelines. Some were much closer to having independence with us and with allies. Others might take some years.
Yeah, so some years. We're still some, because when you think about, China continues to undermine the United States on so many levels, because they do, whether it's cyber attacks or other things, surveillance, nonstop surveillance. You can't really say, well, we're going to decouple from communist China because of all of this bad behavior, because we need their supply chains.
Well, and listen, the president has never said we're going to decouple. Right. What we've said is we have to manage this trade. We're always going to have some trade with China. Right now, we are importing critical minerals and rare earths and other things from them. But we have some really ambitious projects that are going into place right now. Not just in America, we're doing it in tandem with Australia, we're doing it with countries like Malaysia, even Brazil, where sometimes we have some tension. We have mines there that we're exploring with Brazilian partners. So I think a lot of this is going to happen quickly.
Yeah, it's very important, the partnerships that the president has put in place with all of those countries. It's true. James, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We so appreciate you and your leadership.
If things are so great, why is the unemployment rate U3, what is called U3, the unemployment rate is at 4.3%, roughly. But yet U6, which is the real unemployment rate, is like 8.5. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the vitamin C and magnesium. This will help to boost up your immune system, help with brain function, and help with your skin. Magnesium also helps with the efficacy of vitamin D3. You can take this separately or stack it with the magnesium and zinc that I have on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now this stack you can take individually or apply the stack synergistically, right? Lignans, it's a powder. It'll help to boost up your immune system and your endocrine system, bring down inflammation, soak up free radicals. Now, ashwagandha root brings down cortisol levels and helps to control your blood glucose levels. Turmeric brings down inflammation, soaks up free radicals. Now you can take these separately, but the magic, all right, the synergistic effects are powerful if you take them together. The lignans, the ashwagandha root, and the turmeric that help to slow down the aging process. This can help to boost up your immune system, help to boost up your endocrine system. They'll help with brain function because you're bringing down inflammation. It'll help with your cardiovascular health, reduce plaque formation. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the turmeric, the ashwagandha, the lignans, and boost up that immune system. Super important, especially after we went through that crisis. I'm willing to bet that a lot of people that you know in your circle of friends or family members are getting cancers at a young age. I'm also willing to bet that you're starting to notice cognitive dysfunction with individuals post-COVID. pay attention to me or it's going to be too late. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Make sure you use discount 5.
That they're going to be looking at. So the UK's opened an investigation. They've set an end date for that phase 1 investigation of August 7th. And at that point, they're going to have to decide what they want to do. Do they have some concerns about the impact on different markets from this combination? Are there remedies that have been offered that can resolve those concerns so they can get it closed up more quickly? Or do they need to continue to investigate, which would be opening a phase 2, which I think would be, a difficult thing for these companies that intend to close in the third quarter and also have a ticking fee that's going to start to kick in for Paramount as of September 30. So they're going to want to get this cleared up before then.
Is there one concern that trumps everything else? I mean, are my streaming prices going up?
It's funny. I think what everybody thinks about is streaming because that's what we all understand and we're consumers, all of us, for these streaming services. But I just don't see that streaming overlap being problematic anywhere in the world. Paramount Plus and HBO are the two entities that would come together, and they are still relatively small in the world of streaming compared to Netflix and Disney Plus and all the others. And I don't think anywhere their combined market share gets anywhere near 30%. And that's kind of a flashpoint for antitrust. Under 30%, you probably don't have concerns. Over 30%, you probably do. So I think any agency regulator that's looking at this can probably get past that streaming concern.
Jen, just summarize for us, what's the status of the regulatory review in the U.S. here, the federal versus state?
It's really complicated. In the United States, there's a mandatory antitrust waiting period that allows the Department of Justice, in this case, to investigate the deal. If that period expires, if the Department of Justice allows it to expire, legally the companies are free to close. That happened. But even though the Department of Justice allowed that period to expire, there have been news reports that it is continuing to investigate the deal, which is a little bit odd. It's just an unusual sort of set of circumstances. Even if that period has expired, the Department of Justice could still do something. They could still sue, which I highly doubt they will, or they could still seek remedies and enter a consent order. There's nothing that stops them. But if they don't do something and all these other clearances come through, the companies legally can go ahead and close their deal. Now, we've heard that the states, led by California, a group of states, I should say, are thinking about suing to block the deal as well. If they do that, what they're going to need to do is get a preliminary injunction, because the time it will take them for a judge to get to a decision on permanently blocking the deal is, probably 9 months, 8 months, 9 months, maybe even more from the time they file. And by then, I think the other clearances will probably be in and the companies could close. And it is much harder to get a decision on winding a deal. So the first thing they would do is seek a preliminary injunction. And that process can be much quicker than permanent. It can get resolved within about 4 or 5 months.
All right. A lot of moving parts out there for this deal. Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers Discovery. I know folks in LA are very, very nervous because it could mean a loss of a lot of jobs out there. Jennifer Reed, Senior Litigation Analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. Yes, we have litigation analysts in Bloomberg Intelligence. Why? Because they're critically important on these big M&A trades as to whether these deals get done, what kind of timing is involved, what kind of concessions may be needed to win approval. So extraordinarily important for Bloomberg clients here. S&P 500 down 85 points to the Dow, down 300. NASDAQ off 500, that's 1.9%.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nanosilver drops and lozenges. You can get the drops in cherry flavor, in lozenges, in manuka honey, and orange splash, fortified with vitamin C. Very high quality. It has the structural nanosilver to help to neutralize. Use them for the cold season, the allergy season, even when you're cleaning around the house. You want to take them right away so you don't get a throat irritation and get some sort of cold or some sort of allergy. Again, it's made from structural nanosilver, so it'll help to neutralize and protect that mucosal barrier for your oral pharynx. Structural nanosilver toothpaste. This has no fluoride. It'll help to whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, bring down inflammation at the gum line, and improve your gum health. It has the structural nanosilver, so it's going to neutralize. And by having good oral hygiene, you're going to help your cardiovascular health. This is the best toothpaste you can buy. Use it every day, but especially if you're not feeling well, like during the cold season. And the structural nanosilver gels. I have it in the tube form and the quick dispenser form called Renew. It's dual purpose. You put it on a cut, an abrasion, or a minor burn to help to heal it about a third of the time quicker. You can use it as a daily skincare. You can lightly coat your nostrils when you're cleaning to prevent you from breathing in and being exposed to dust. If you are sick or someone around you is not feeling well because of the cold, just the common cold, put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your eyes, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils. They'll stay active for 5.5 hours. Now, if you have an allergy and you're outside, again, lightly coat your nostrils and it'll help to neutralize those antigens that you're breathing in that cause the allergy. So you're trying to reduce your exposure. So please go to my store, get the structural nanosilver gels. Make sure you use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Let's listen into Fox Business about Kevin Warsh, the Federal Reserve Chair.
Smart founders know something most people miss. Get your domain name even if you're not ready to launch your business. With Wix, you can grab yours now and then get to work.
Welcome back. Let's check futures this morning. We've got a rally underway this morning with the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now up 108. The NASDAQ is up 223. And the S&P 500 is higher by 33 points right now. This following a mixed market yesterday. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ finishing higher as chip stocks rebounded from last week's sell-off. Interest rates this morning may well look like this. Take a look at rates where we see the 10-year yield pulling back down 0.5 of a basis point, sitting at a level of 4.55%. We're all waiting and watching on Kevin Warsh at his first policy meeting next week, as the new chairman of the Federal Reserve will begin leading that meeting next week. Speculation increasing in the markets that a rate hike is possible through periods of persistent inflation. Joining us now is former Treasury Undersecretary, former World Bank President, and American Global Strategies Vice Chairman, David Malpass. David, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for being here. So what are your expectations for next week's big meeting? Kevin Warsh is first as chairman.
I think they'll be setting the stage, so I don't expect a rate hike at that meeting. But the issue is, how do they talk about growth? It was really good. The president over the weekend, President Trump, said growth is good.
Yeah.
So that's going up against the Federal Reserve models, where they kind of think if you have too much growth, they should take away the punch bowl. They should throw cold water on growth. And so he was really clear on why it is. If you've got growth, you've got more people producing, and then that helps on the inflation front.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you keep raising interest rates on small businesses. So that's the theme, really. How do we get credit going to small businesses so they can fix the supply chain?
So I would be shocked if Kevin Warsh comes out and raises interest rates this year. What do you think?
I don't think they'll do it this year. Goldman Sachs was out, I saw, and saying that there won't be a cut until 2027.
Yeah.
So even that is problematic. The U.S. and the president said it very clearly. If we're such a strong country, why do we pay more interest rates than someone in China? It doesn't make any sense. And the markets, I think, need to have confidence in the Fed and figure out that the dollar is the best currency in the world.
Absolutely. Samir, you're advising companies on how to deal with the president's policies and work with this administration. What do they say about growth right now?
Well, look, they're very excited around the fact that we're going through this period of reindustrialization in the United States. An exciting time for the energy markets, for AI, for chips, and finally bringing back those jobs home. And the best part is, and this has to do with the kind of elegant foreign policy that the president has espoused, is we're in some cases getting foreign countries to pay for that renaissance. So Japan, Korea, even in the Middle East, you're seeing foreign direct investment come in at waves that's generational. And I think that's really the boon for the U.S. economy, where you have all these partnerships that are rebuilding industry here at home. Now, there's a long way to go, but I can tell that markets are excited about that. Now, things take time. You have a transformational president with a transformational agenda. These things don't change overnight.
Yeah.
We've had decades of poor planning and poor industry that's now turning the corner. And I think people are very excited about that.
And to your point, the president will say it's $18 trillion in new money having come into this country. And David, you've got an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. I want to talk about what you write, because you said that the Federal Reserve's balance sheet needs to shrink. And of course, that is exactly what Kevin Warsh has said. You write that Kevin Warsh has correctly advocated for regime change, which would include reducing the portfolio size. What are your expectations there? And as he cuts down the balance sheet, is that indirectly a tightening?
No, I think it is pro-growth.
Some people say it is.
You know, economists argue about this all the time, but look at their record. Over time, the Fed's allowed these big swings in inflation and in deflation even. That was the 1990s. They never explained why. And on the balance sheet, they claimed that it was going to be stimulative. But think, in the Obama administration, they bought $9 trillion of bonds and didn't get any growth out of it. So there's a big mistake going on in economics. Kevin Warsh can begin to change the economic model so that people get it, that the Fed shouldn't be in the middle of every market in the economy. They want to be because it makes them more powerful. That's what I was writing in the journal. But I think he's confronting the members of the Federal Open Market Committee. They're really entrenched in economics. And so this fight is going to have to be staged in multiple rounds to explain to the country that the Fed can have confidence from markets by getting out of the way, not by being in the middle of everything.
Yeah, that's a great point. And he has said he wants these family fights. He wants the governors around the table to challenge him.
That's it.
Yeah.
Regime change, and you have to have a new way of thinking about the interest rate when there's growth.
And communicating. Let's talk about the key economic data out this week. So, we got the CPI number out this tomorrow. The expectations called for a gain of 0.5%, and year over year 4.2% for the CPI. May PPI, Producer Price Index, out on Thursday. They were expecting an increase of 0.7%, 6.4% year over year. That last month PPI was not a good number. Your thoughts on how companies are dealing with this spike? Do you agree with the administration that this is going to reverse entirely once this war is over?
Well, clearly there are geoeconomic and geopolitical considerations that I think are casting a shadow over certain features of the market. Now, I think the challenge that boards of directors have across the United States is, are they going to be beholden to short-termism and view these challenges as, idiosyncratic and pain points that are going to limit capital expenditure, limit their ability to hire, and limit their ability to provide products and services at scale to the American consumer at an affordable price? Now, I think you might see that in certain industries that are uniquely menaced by inflationary concerns like the retail sector. But for those that are investing in kind of the harder, grittier, more industrial jobs and rebuilding this country, I think they look at this as just a short-term blip. And really, the long-term secular growth of the United States economy is geared towards more self-reliance on our supply chain and building economies of scale. And I think that's where the mindset is.
You agree?
Yes, but you need to do a lot more than we're doing now on the job skills, on manufacturing, on bringing back things that Americans can make here in the country.
100%.
And that's going a little slow, and we need a lot more electricity. The grid needs to be fixed. Those things are big projects.
Yeah, we've got a big announcement coming up this morning from Meta. Meta is going to talk just about that with their Workforce Academy announcement. We'll talk with the president of Meta here later on the show. David, always a pleasure. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the vitamin B complex. This is perfect if you're 40 years of age or older, male or female. This will help to rev up your metabolism, increase your energy levels, and protect your neurons. Take it every day. Very important if you're 40 years of age or older. Resveratrol helps to get rid of cells that are in senescence, helps with youthful gene expression, soaks up free radicals, boosts up the health of your mitochondria so you have more ATP. And resveratrol also helps the basal layer for your skin so you have healthier skin. If you want to slow down the aging process, make sure you add resveratrol to your protocol. This stacks really well with C60, which is a very strong antioxidant. Let's listen into Bloomberg.
I expect you to comply. And because Netanyahu is the longest governing prime minister in the history of the state of Israel, ruled the country, controlled the country 15 of the last 17 years, is up for elections in October and cannot win, in my judgment, since Trump is more popular in Israel than he is, cannot win without a major endorsement, singing his praises of one Donald Trump. When Trump calls Netanyahu and says ceasefire, Netanyahu is going to comply.
Aaron, if I'm in the business of insuring oil tankers in the Mideast, I don't care what piece of paper you give me. I'm not going to do that, I don't think. Can I trust these people not to send out a Austin Oiler with an RPG? I mean,
nope.
How does that work?
I think that the Iranians have weaponized geography, which is their new nuclear weapon. They may, in fact, agree over time to open the straits up. You've got enormous numbers of large cruise carriers, 1,000 ships on one side or the other. The insurance companies could fail to insure if the Iranians threaten or launch drones. Smart money is already, the Iraqis, the Emiratis are constructing alternative pipelines. The Saudis already have one east-west, anywhere from 5 to 7 million barrels a day. That's going to take time, but it is absolutely essential to invest in renewables and find alternate means of delivery other than the Straits of Hormuz. I don't know what you do about natural gas. I mean, the majority of natural gas is supplied by Qatar in the United States, Ras Laffan facility. It may take years to repair. What do you do about a natural gas that produces ammonia and urea? What about helium? I just think the Straits of Hormuz are a damaged commodity right now.
As you point out, in a place where geography dictates the outcome, can Iran outlast its enemies?
As long as the regime finds some way to compensate for the fact that they're going to need funds for reconstruction, either sanctions relief, unfrozen assets, in order to deal with the electricity shortage, the water shortage, the hyperinflation that's occurring because 90% of their imports are seaborne. Yeah, they have routes to the Caspian Sea. There are rail links they can use, but no, the conflict needs to come to an end. Iran is hurting. There's no question about it. It's just that in a conflict that's existential for the guys who are running this country, who control the oil, the money, the guns, the information, and the enriched uranium, for these guys, it's not just politics. It's preserving their existence and what remains of the Iranian Revolution. It's not the same stakes for us, certainly not for the President of the United States. So they're hurting severely. Survival, functionality is going to depend
Yep. All right, Aaron, thank you so much. Always appreciate getting some time from you. Aaron David Miller, he's a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the omega-3. This will help to bring down inflammation and help you to control your lipid profile so you're reducing plaque formation. Super important to help with your cardiovascular health. Take this every day. Super important. And with good cardiovascular health, you're slowing down the aging process. Good night formula. Take it every night so you get into 3 to 5 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep. It has tryptophan, melatonin, GABA, and passion flower to allow you to detoxify your central nervous system, to consolidate memory, and to be well rested. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. Another great supplement that I have is a liquid version where you have Max 35, Max 14, or Cleanse. They're at different parts per million. It has structural nanosilver. You take a teaspoon a day, every day, swish it in your mouth, gargle about 20 seconds or so, and this will help to neutralize and help to improve your oral cavity, your oral pharynx, maintain your mucosal barrier, and help the health of your epithelial cells. This will help to boost up your innate immune system. I do this every day, teaspoon a day, every day. Either the Max 35, Max 14, or Cleanse. They're at different price points. I've been doing this for over 6 years, every day. If you have a common cold, take a tablespoon or two and swish it in your mouth, gargle, and then swallow. Now, if you do this on a regular basis and you stack it with some of the other supplements, you're going to radically slow down the aging process. So let me tell you what the protocol, the anti-aging protocol is. And you can add other supplements to it. The foundation, the probiotics. The first pillar on that foundation, the Max 35, Max 14 or Cleanse to boost up your innate immune system. Second pillar, C60, which I will talk about shortly here, will soak up free radicals, boost up your energy levels. Turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans is the stack for the third pillar to help with the immune system and the cardiovascular system, brain function. And Boomer Boost, rev up your metabolism and have a steady burn of energy. But you get a lot of other benefits from Boomer Boost, like brain function, improvement of your musculature, helping with your immune system and your endocrine system. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great supplements that I offer. Make sure you use discount 5 and get it. You get $5 off, all caps, discount 5. Get the Good Night Formula, the Omega-3, the Max 35, or the Cleanse. It's a great way to slow down the aging process and to get healthy. These are products that I take every day to slow down the aging process. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Let's listen into Al Jazeera here.
Thinking, am I going to be next? We already see fans from Morocco or from Congo recently that had purchased tickets, that had paid everything to be able to travel to the US, and in the last moment discovered that they were not welcome. This has a huge cost on football fans, and FIFA is nowhere to be seen. They've hardly commented or tried to solve the situation of the Somali referee that's been barred from entering the US, and are not commenting on the fans from Congo that are currently have to cancel their plans to travel because of the Ebola virus. The least that FIFA could do is look into potential solutions, mitigations, or reimburse the tickets, because the impact again on these fans, some of them coming from country with a very low purchasing power, is going to be extremely significant.
Ronan Ivan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
The United States top immigration official Tom Homan has told Al Jazeera he's not familiar with the case of FIFA referee Omar Artan. Artan was set to become Somalia's first World Cup referee, but US Customs and Border Protection blocked him at Miami Airport due to vetting concerns. He says, despite the circumstances, he is in a positive mood and will now focus on the next challenges in his refereeing career. Football's governing body FIFA said, in line with previous FIFA events, a host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and who is admitted into their country. Former England striker Ian Wright gave his reaction on Instagram.
Fans denied, players denied, officials denied, journalists denied, now refs. You know something, I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
I'm going to go back to Bloomberg here.
So investors or portfolio managers point out that if you look at these huge mega cap IPOs and some of these tech companies, all of them have been great investments, right? Like even Tesla, which has been super volatile, the stock just, a lot of choppiness there. It's up 24,000% from its IPO. So you don't have to necessarily get in on day one for it to be a good investment.
Well, as we've heard some reporting that maybe 30% of the IPO will be allocated to retail.
Yes.
Is that typical? Is that more than average, less than average? It seems like a lot. I don't know.
It's definitely more than average. I mean, retail is a very large focus here for the SpaceX IPO. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. I think Elon knows that the retail crowd really likes his companies. I mean, we see that a lot in Tesla. So this is obviously no exception, but yeah, it is something that's very different. I think about the SpaceX IPO compared to some of the other more traditional ones that we've seen. The other thing is having this fixed price.
Yes.
That's super interesting. I mean, usually we kind of have a range, and then when they price, we see, you know, are they at the top end or the bottom end, and that actually really affects sentiment going into that first day of trading, right? It's different this time. You know, we have the fixed price. That's really what people are expecting on, you know, to see it pricing on Thursday, and then we'll see, you know, how the stock opens on Friday.
So tangential to all this, do all these IPOs kind of suck the oxygen out of the room?
They definitely can, especially when you consider how much money is coming to the public markets, and it could be, you know, just a matter of a few months here. You know, $3.6 trillion. There are only, I think, 11 companies in the S&P 500 overall that have a market value of $1 trillion or higher. So we're getting, you know, almost like a third more added to the market in general. I mean, they're not going to be in the S&P right away. You know that.
So they're not going to be in the S&P, but are they going to be in other indices? What do we know?
Yeah, so there were some changes around the NASDAQ 100, so adding those. And that is another big difference here. That'll be really interesting. Having some index support may really change sort of the volatility piece of the puzzle here.
When do the lockups expire? What you were saying, Paul?
Typically 180 days, but...
Yeah, it can depend. It's sort of...
I mean, can we gauge, like, you know, just the extent of selling, or who's going to hold on to it at that point?
Yeah, so we'll have some indication of when the lockups end, and usually you can even see, you know, what investors are maybe eligible in certain lockups. Sometimes there are different rules around, like, if the stock price is at a certain level before their first or after their first earnings as a public company, then certain insiders can sell. So we'll see some of those stocks come online over the course of the next few months.
Are we getting any valuation chatter pushback? Listen to some of this stuff. Multiple of revenue for some big tech IPOs. Snowflake came out at 3 times revenue. This is courtesy of Dan Curtis, Bloomberg Television in London. Uber came out at 7 times revenue. Tesla 20 times revenue. Facebook 22 times revenue.
SpaceX
95 times revenue.
Yes.
What's the chatter there?
So this is something that I've heard from investors also when they're advising their clients that, you know, maybe this, you don't want to buy in right away. The valuations are really high, and there might be a better entry point as we, you know, see SpaceX grow.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, this is a call on Elon.
Not to mention that Elon's going to have complete control.
85% voting control, and he's got some of these stock award thresholds that can make him a gajillions of dollars if we put 1 million people on the market. I don't know what's going on. Carmen Reineke, it's your job to figure it out. I'll just listen to what you had. This is a great story, folks. Check it out on the Bloomberg Terminal and on Bloomberg.com. Carmen Reineke, Deputy Team Leader, U.S. Equity. She's got a great story.
If you're thinking about getting into SpaceX for the IPO, I would wait. Because I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a big rush of retail investors, big rush of institutional investors, and a large rush of index funds to rebalance to get that SpaceX in to their fund. And then all of a sudden it's going to start to correct. And you may see about a 30% drop from the high. So I'd wait it out. Now it may take a quarter, 3 months or so, but just wait it out. And once you see that drop, then buy in. Now you may see it climb, but then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks, then you're going to start seeing it drop. And it could be a 20 to 25, 30% drop. And that would be the time to buy. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. It's about 1,000 times stronger than vitamin C. Now, C60, you can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. It is cheaper per ounce to get the higher ounce configuration. You can get an MCT coconut oil, avocado oil, and also extra virgin olive oil.
Take a teaspoon a day, every day, preferably on an empty stomach, and this will help to soak up free radicals, improve the cellular processing, improve the energy levels of the cell. It's going to improve the mitochondria, so you're going to have more ATP. It's going to bring down inflammation at the cellular level. And when you do this, your organ systems perform better, your immune system will perform better, your endocrine system will perform better, your neurons will perform better. By soaking up free radicals at the vascular level, you're reducing plaque formation, so your cardiovascular health will improve. Your basal layer of your skin will improve. Your skin will be healthier and younger. By taking this every day, a teaspoon a day, every day, you are going to be slowing down the aging process. Now, if you stack this with resveratrol, you're getting added benefits for the basal layer for your skin. You stack this with Max 35, Max 14, or Cleanse, turmeric, ashwagandha lignans, the probiotics, and the Boomer Boost. That's a powerful stack to slow down the aging process. Now, if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying about antioxidants and bringing down inflammation, boosting up your energy levels, we're targeting major components of aging. What are some of those components? People that age, what happens? Their immune system goes down. Their endocrine system doesn't work as well. Their brain function starts to go down. People that are getting older, the cardiovascular health starts to fade. All right, so we want to, and inflammation starts to go up. Cortisol levels are higher. Cellular metabolism is lower. Those are the elements or the variables or the major pressure points of aging. Now, if you pay attention to my protocol, we're attacking all that. We're boosting up energy levels, improving the health of the mitochondria, bringing down inflammation, improving cardiovascular health, improving brain function and neurodevelopment, creating musculature, improving bone density, revving up the metabolism, bringing the endocrine system and the immune system up. These are all major important features. So by taking a good probiotic, by taking Max 35 or Cleanse, taking C60, turmeric, ashwagandha lignans, and the Boomer Boost, it's a very powerful stack to slow down the aging process. And you couple it with proper diet, proper exercise, balancing exercises, stretching exercises, learning new things, reading and writing and talking to people, staying positive, having a good positive outlook, maybe some spirituality or mindfulness. These will work holistically to help slow down the aging process. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5. You get $5 off any order. All right, let's listen into Israel hammers Hezbollah targets.
President Trump is still pushing for a deal with Iran and says we could have an idea of the potential agreement in the coming days. And it comes as Israel continues to hammer Hezbollah in Lebanon, carrying out strikes just in the last hour. Aisha Hasni is live in the White House with the latest. Hey, Aisha.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian. And when we talk about a potential deadline, that deadline could be in a number of days, because the president, on his way back from the Knicks game late last night, told reporters that he will know, he'll have some sort of an idea of where these talks are going in just 1 to 2 days. Watch.
We have ongoing negotiations in Iran and with Iran, and that hasn't stopped. And we could have at least an idea by 1 or 2 days from now. We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal. If we do the bombing, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And we'll have a signed document that's actually stronger than doing the bombing.
So this morning, CENTCOM gave an update on those two helicopter crew members that were lost at sea. Apache crew members were told that they were rescued by American forces after their helicopter went down near the coast of Oman while patrolling regional waters. The soldiers were safely rescued within approximately 2 hours, are in stable condition. The cause of the incident is still under investigation, according to CENTCOM. Meanwhile, the president is still trying to cool tensions between Iran and Israel after an exchange of fire this week. The Israelis are downplaying any friction between Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, likening it to a lover's quarrel. And it comes after Trump reportedly told Axios that he warned Netanyahu that if he went back to war with Iran, he might find himself fighting alone. Vice President J.D. Vance telling Jesse Waters last night the Iranians actually do not want war, and if there is a deal, it'll be a home run for the American people.
I think the president's attitude on this is we have to verify, of course. One of the most important things to whether this ultimate settlement is a success is not what the Iranians write on the paper, but whether they actually comply with some of the requirements of the settlement that we come up to. The Iranians don't want this war to continue. It's not in their best interest. And I think they're coming to the table, putting some real things on the table. We're, of course, going to verify. But if we get to this deal, it's going to be a home run one for the American people.
So, Brian, the president has some policy meetings on the schedule today. Nothing that's open to the press, so we aren't expecting to see him today. So keep your eyes on Truth Social if there's any news. Brian?
And if something does open up, I know you're going to be there. Thanks so much, Aisha. Appreciate it. Our next guest knows all about fighting the war on terror and knows Iran. Retired Vice Admiral and Navy SEAL Robert Harwood grew up in Iran, led invasions in Afghanistan and Iraq. He joins us now. Admiral, I want you to hear this. Now, I know the foreign minister is talking to the president. They feel like they're making progress. And then I wake up and I'm watching this exclusive interview on another network with this other parliamentary leader. Watch.
You do not see a serious will to reach a framework that could actually be implemented. And I think with regard to Iran's blocked assets, this is in fact a very clear and prominent example of that. As for uranium enriched materials, enrichment itself, and nuclear issues, we are not currently negotiating on those matters.
I don't know what to make of this. I know the president's talking directly to what he thinks the people in charge, but does this guy have a vote too? Are they working together or apart?
This is Iran today. There's only one group that gets the vote, and that's the IRGC at the end of the day. And that's why these negotiations are their standard procedures. Milk it out for as long as they can, try to survive through a Trump administration, and try to get much as they can without giving up anything. That's what just happened in Lebanon. The president got the Israelis to stop attacking their surrogates, one of their elements of power. And at the end of the day, they gave up nothing for it. So this is the dilemma for the president. And I think at the end of the day, as he's indicated, there's got to be a timeline. This war's gone on for 100 days. The Straits of Hormuz, it remained closed. So if the Iranians don't capitulate in 48 hours or some defined date by the president, he's got to act.
There's a story out there, and these usually turn out to be true. The IRGC hardliner, Ahmed Vahidi, who evidently likes to blow up negotiations, is dead. The Israelis took him out over the weekend. Have you heard that?
I would love to know it's true, but it doesn't really matter. They'll have someone else step in and fill the void. And then we got to target that. And that's the real end state here. Targeting the IRGC and removing those guys who have been enforcing the Islamic Revolution, their policies, and their programs through force on the Iranian people. So that's the ultimate end state. And for all the Arab countries in the region, that's what they need for long-term stability and security. So again, if the Iranians are not going to hand over the nuclear material, they're not going to stop funding their surrogates, and they let the Straits of Hormuz flow, unless you get that done in a defined timeline now, you need to act.
Because the people like to push that the Israelis and the U.S. are separating on objectives, but we really have the same objective. Stop the terror organization and stop a terrorist regime, right?
We've then had the same objective since day one. We are locked at the hip in terms of our policies and our objectives. Now, day to day, some of those strategies may change. Who's got the priority? And they apparently are prioritizing the IRGC, where we've looked at missiles opening up the straits. But there's no doubt, there's no gap between the U.S. and Israel on the objectives here. It's just a matter of how we're going to accomplish that.
Absolutely. Vice Admiral Robert Harwood, thanks so much.
Good to be with you, Brian.
Always.
Before we go to Balance of Power at Bloomberg, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Super Strong Relief. This is a topical that will help to relieve pain within 90 seconds. It'll help with tension headaches, bruises, pulled muscles, sprains, and arthritis. So please go to my store, get the Super Strong Relief. It is a great product to help to relieve pain. Now, collagen. Collagen is a supplement that you can take to help to remodel your joints if you have a sports injury or arthritis. How it works is you take this every day, and it will help to block the pain gateway NAV 1.7. It will also help to recruit collagen type 2 and glucosamine to help to rebuild the cartilage. It'll also help to recruit ACAN and chondroitin to help to remodel the cushioning of the joint. It will help to block EP4, it inhibits EP4, which helps to bring down inflammation. And it also inhibits MMP3 and MMP13, which helps to reduce erosion of the joint. So if you have chronic pain in a joint, what happens is the joint erodes more, it has more inflammation, and it gets worse over time. So what you want to do is take this and help to slowly rebuild the joint. Another thing you want to do is to do these exercises where you take the joint that you have, let's say it's a wrist issue, let's say you have arthritis in your wrist, and it's painful if you move it, either flexing or extending. Well, what you want to do is you want to open up the wrist in extension up to the point where you have pain, and go a little bit more and count to 20 seconds, and then release. And then do that 2 or 3 times. All right, and you do that every day. Now, if you also have pain with flexing, you want to do the same thing with flexing. Go to the point of pain and a little bit more. And what you're going to notice is that over time, you'll be able to open up and articulate the joint with less pain. And by taking the collagen, you're helping to remodel the joint. So this is a great way to improve your joints, especially from a sports injury or arthritis. Another great supplement that you can take separately, but you can also stack it with the collagen, is the collagen. Collagen will help to give you the ingredients to rebuild the joints. And it'll help with musculature, bone density, skin health, nails, and hair. So it's dual purpose. You can take it separately. And for the ones that have arthritis and a sports or a sports injury, you can take the collagen separately or stack it. I recommend stacking to speed up the process and do those exercises that I just mentioned. And to reduce that arthritic pain that you may have, use the Super Strong Relief. So you apply it topically, you take the collagen, it's slowly rebuilding the joint. You're doing these simple exercises, and you have the ingredients to help to remodel the cartilage. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Make sure you use discount 5. All right, let's listen into Balance of Power.
That sets up a lot of U.S. persons' conversations as well. So they're at a standoff, and this power which has been controversial anyway, and there's a bunch of Republicans who have reservations about it, and a bunch of Democrats who have reservations about it. Whether the Democrats would be willing to band together with the Republicans to pass an extension when it expires Friday.
So they're just kind of looking at the White House right now, Tyler. So you guys figure this out. What are we supposed to do? And there's a thought that maybe if the president announced a permanent name, they might find a temporary Bill Pulte more palatable.
Well, actually, it seems like maybe there was some movement. Senate Majority Leader John Thune did speak to reporters earlier today. He said that he's been in contact with the White House, and he seemed to suggest that we could soon get a longer-term announcement. We should keep in mind an acting director means that Pulte wouldn't have to go through that congressional process to be Senate approved. So he's basically in the job until you get that firmer replacement. So it does appear that there are these conversations that are actively happening, and Republicans do want to see this extended. And they've said there's a few different things coming up. The World Cup, the 250th anniversary, the UFC fight maybe that we're going to see.
To have a war cooking that you and I were just talking about.
Right, so definitely pressure.
Just got a minute left, Mike Thorning. Reconciliation is a more immediate matter. We're going to get a vote today.
Yes,
is the
that's the
understanding?
plan.
Does Mike Johnson have the votes?
We'll see. He says he's confident he can prevail. There'll be a vote early in the afternoon on a sort of a procedural matter. That'll probably be a good test. And then the plan is later in the afternoon, measure to pass this $70 billion spending bill.
It's not too bad. The president said he wanted it on his desk the 1st of June, right? It's the 9th. Could have done worse, assuming they get it done. Big thanks to both of you, Tyler Kendall, Mike Thorning, getting us started on the stories that matter most today in Washington.
All right, just to recap the market here. The S&P 500 is now trading at 7,282, so it's been going down. NASDAQ is also going down. VIX did spike up, and it's at 2178. I was saying that this week was, I said this 2-3 weeks ago, that this week would potentially go above 20. So right now it's trading at 2180. So, and the reason why is this, usually these spikes happen every 2 to 2.5 months, the periodicity of these spikes. So this makes sense here. So VIX did spike up. Equities are starting to sell off. What is interesting is that oil did break its support level of $87 a barrel and is now trading at $86.52 right now. The dollar is stable. Euro is trading at 115. Japanese yen is trading at 160.32. Bitcoin has dropped and it is now trading at 60,500 or so. So if today's close for oil stays below that 87 level, then we may be seeing a reset of a trading range lower, probably closer to 82 to $86 a barrel, which is good if that is the case. What is interesting is that VIX is starting to go up. It's at 22 right now, and equities are selling off. This is a time to buy. If you have some cash, you want to nibble at getting into the broad index, the S&P 500 or the Russell 1,000, 2,000, whatever, but get into a broad index ETF. That's my broadcast. Thank you for listening. We were live streaming on Rumble and YouTube and on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com through Broadcast Live. If you like the content and you want to help support the work, be a paid member to my Patreon channel. I greatly appreciate it. All these videos are for free, and get the great products that I offer to help slow down the aging process and boost up your immune system. You'll have more energy, you'll have more vitality, more longevity. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.